Hello, for folks who are already in our webinar room. We are going to get started at 6:30 this evening, so feel free to get comfortable, and we'll be starting in about 5 minutes. Thank you. Hello and welcome to those of you that have joined us already in the webinar room. The event will be starting in 3 minutes. Thank you. All right, good evening and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here to join us tonight. Before I get started, can you give me a thumbs up or a yes in the chat box if you can hear me? We just want to make sure that everybody is good to go with sound. Charlotte, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you okay.
Okay, awesome. And Anne said yes. Wonderful. Thank you, guys. So welcome and thank you for joining us for this wellness talk. We are going to be learning about doing more than surviving and shifting that focus on thriving. So tonight we have have Charlotte as the Director of Sales and Education and Training with New Chapter, and she's going to take us on a journey about how we can support women's bodies' changing needs during all life stages to achieve their health goals. So my name is Haley, and I'm the Corporate Events Coordinator at Nature's Fair Markets. On behalf of all of our stores and our entire team, I'd like to let you know how much we appreciate your support. And for those of you who have been shopping with us recently, you may see our stores look a little different, but as always, we are here to encourage and support you on your own personal wellness journey, whatever that may be right now. So the presentation will be about 45 minutes long, and note that all of the participant microphones are muted and they will remain so for the presentation. But throughout the webinar, we encourage you to submit your questions into the chat box on the right of the screen. And Jana from New Chapter and myself will be doing our best to answer and flag questions throughout so that Charlotte can then pop in at the end to answer some as well. A recording of the presentation will be available. It'll be sent by email with a replay link, along with a thank you coupon from New Chapter for your participation. So before I hand it over to Charlotte, I'd like to give you a little bit of info on her background. She has a background as a medical educator, but has also done an extensive amount of studying of Eastern medicine, recognizing how Western medicine may be enhanced by natural traditions. She's passionate and an advocate and a spokesperson for the natural healing techniques and remedies, and is currently working to help further educate on the repercussions of GMOs and women's health. Thank you so much for being here tonight, Charlotte. We are very much looking forward to learning from your expertise. And with that, I will hand it over to you.
Well, thank you so much. That was an amazing intro. I'm going to try my best to live up to it. Thank you for being here today with me. I'm super excited to be with you. And thank you to Nature's Fair for inviting me to be here with you. So we are in a really big predicament right now, aren't we? It is a different time. And I would say that we're under more stress and pressure than ever. And some days it feels like it takes all you have just to survive the day. For me, I feel like I try really hard to do my best, but the tone of your day is set so much by how you feel and by what your nutrition is. And I think it's really important to have a great, strong foundation to really set your day up right. Because how you wake up and how you feel in the morning impacts your entire day. And we have so many things that impact us as we go along. So we're going to go through a lot of the supplementation that New Chapter offers for different challenges you may be facing right now. I'd love to hear from you as we go through this. This is for you. And I definitely want to address questions as we go along, and definitely some at the end. So feel free if I'm going through this pretty fast. So the whole idea is to do more than survive, but to thrive. So with that, we are facing some new challenges. I would say this health crisis that we've been in has been a total curveball. It came out of left field. We were not prepared for it. But the challenges that we've been facing before that, we have been prepared for because we've been conquering those challenges. Women's contributions are really evident. More women are working. More women are working moms. So 70% of moms are working moms. And you guys know what that's like to juggle a family and to juggle a job. And now if you're like me, you're juggling a family, you're juggling a job, and you're juggling homeschooling, which is an entirely new idea for a lot of us. I've been educating for a really long time. I actually started my career as a 6th grade teacher. And let me tell you, things have changed. New math, I don't get it, but I'm working hard to get it. But we also have more degrees than ever. And, we're making up more of those STEM programs and more of those computer and math occupations. So while we're facing new challenges, we're facing them head on. And supplements can really help us to face some of the challenges that we not only have in life, but also on a daily basis as well. So every age and every life stage really presents us with new challenges. So the first one that I really draw attention to is one that people talk about a lot, which is bone loss. Women's bone loss starts at 30, which again, people ask me all the time, Why does bone loss start so early in life for women? And the answer is that, adolescent females actually get a lot less calcium in their diet than men do. Also, it could be structure, it could be genetic. But when our bone loss starts at 30, we really have to pay attention to our fragile skeletons and how they're evolving. So we want to be able to give our skeletons the best chance, because your skeleton regenerates every 7 years. So if it's going to regenerate every 7 years, you want to give it the best materials possible to rebuild. So we're going to talk about bone loss today. We're also going to talk about stress. Yes, 73% of Canadians report feeling stressed. And that was before this pandemic happened. So I imagine that number is even higher now. And I can tell you, I am stressed. But I also know secrets and tricks to help me handle it. And we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about hormonal imbalance a little bit and how that affects your life. Women experience menopausal symptoms that disrupt their life. 1 in 4 have that. And so we're going to talk about menopausal and hormonal balance, but we're also going to talk about how that works in relation to bone loss and your digestive system and your overall health. And then we're going to talk about aging gracefully, because who doesn't want to age to be their best? And, I ask people all the time when I lecture, I say, what do you want to be doing when, you're 85 years old? And the answer is almost always, I want to be doing exactly what I'm doing right now, just living my life to the fullest. I want to have my mobility. I want to have my cognitive functions, and I want to still be thriving. So that's what we're going to talk about and the challenges that face us ahead. So at New Chapter, when we create products, we look at formulation in a really special way. We create our products for our friends and our families. We create our products because we ourselves take them. I take a lot of New Chapter products. I won't tell you how many yet, but we take a lot of New Chapter products because we formulate with the best quality ingredients that we possibly can find. On top of that, when we formulate, we use certain principles to bring light, to make a contribution to the supplement space, so that we're creating supplements that haven't been made before, but that are also new innovations. And we also want to acknowledge 2 things, tradition and science. So tradition is when we look at things more like Ayurvedic medicine and traditional Chinese medicine. And science is when we really look at the clinical studies that are associated with the products, so that they're working. Because one of the things that's really important when you start taking a supplement is to know it's working for you. And we're going to talk about how you can do that today as well. So let's talk about nutrition, because nutrition is such a cornerstone of how we get our nutrients and how we feel. And when people come up to me and they want to talk about how they're doing, one of the first questions I ask is, well, what are you eating? How much are you sleeping? Do you feel stressed? And based on those answers, I think we usually get to a lot of the roots of what's going on. So let's talk about nutrition for a minute, because one of the fallacies, one of the arguments that people often think is that I am getting enough nutrition from my food. And while I would love for that to be true, because I think food is fantastic, I'm a big fan myself, but on top of that, I think that we have the idea that food is the best source of our nutrition, and it is. And if you were eating perfectly all of the time, you still might be nutrient deficient. And how is that? Well, here's the thing. There was a study that was done that studied fruits and vegetables from 1975 to 1999. And in that 25-year span, they found that of the 12 fruits and vegetables that they were testing along the way, all of them lost nutrients. In fact, some of them were 30% less in iron. They had less vitamin C, less vitamin A. So when you think about nutrition, it's radically changed, not because the food itself has changed. I mean, now we have unfortunately introduced GMOs and things like that, but it's also because we're not growing food for nutrition. We're growing food for yield. So we have a weaker starting point, unfortunately. And then we have to pay the digestive tax. And the digestive tax means that what you think you're getting is not exactly what you are getting, because it's not what you're eating, it's what you're absorbing. So let's take 100 grams of spinach. It's a pretty nice size of spinach. Spinach is a light and fluffy kind of leaf. And in that spinach, you get 2.1 to 2.7 milligrams of iron. And the variation there is that natural variation that you see within plants and the virility of the plant. So what do you actually absorb? Well, there was a study that was done that says only 2% of the iron that you're getting from that spinach is actually absorbed. In fact, if you were to eat, and a lot of people are like, yes, but Charlotte, I'm not a vegetarian, I eat meat. I'm like, oh, totally understand that. But guess what? It's actually the same thing. So we're going to talk about that in just a second too. So if you're only getting 2% of the iron actually absorbed, it would take a lot of spinach for you to get your daily amount. So how fermentation works, because fermentation is one of the principles that we use at New Chapter, is it takes foods and it pre-digests them. It breaks them down so it's easier for your body to absorb. So one of the things that moms know is that you would never give a baby cow's milk because it's really rough on their stomach. It's too hard for them to absorb. So what happens is one of the first foods a doctor says to give a baby is to give them yogurt because it's already pre-digested from that fermentation process and it's really super gentle on the stomach. So what New Chapter did is we said, well, what if we applied that same concept to our multivitamins? What if we pre-digested them with fermentation and broke them down so that when you took them in, your body would recognize them as food and you would be able to absorb that nutrition? And that's how we make our multivitamins. So again, we were talking about getting your nutrition from food. So iron is one of the essential nutrients that women need up until while you're menstruating. I would say once you start going through menopause, your iron needs are actually going to decline. But until you go through menopause when you're menstruating, you definitely need iron in your diet. So a 9-ounce steak contains about 6 milligrams of iron, but then you got to pay that digestive tax. So even if you absorb at the high range, which is 18%, so that means your digestive system is really working. And I want you to remember that about 74% of people have digestive issues. So their digestive system isn't working the way that they think it is. So they're not getting the nutrition that they also think that they're getting from their food. So let's say you're at the high end. Let's say you have perfect digestion, you never have any issues with it. And if you absorb 18% of that, what you're getting in iron is a little over 1 milligram. So to get all of the iron you'd need during pregnancy or during menstruation is you'd have to eat about 40 ounces of steak in a day. A, that's not sustainable. B, if you are a meat eater, I'm sure you might like steak, but I don't know if anybody likes steak that much. So again, things that we have to be aware of. When you're trying to get iron from vegetarian diets, it's actually more difficult, and the top end is 12%. So you'd be utilizing 5 to 12% of your vegetarian diet of the iron that you're actually getting in. So again, I think you can see that we would probably need more nutrition to supplement our daily diet. So why should women choose a fermented multi? Well, first of all, it's cultured. It's probiotic cultured. What that means, it's fermented with probiotics. And while the probiotics are inactive, and everybody's like, hold up there, Char, I know this. You need live probiotics. And I say, absolutely. I'm a huge fan of live probiotics, and we're going to talk about that tonight. But what I'm also going to tell you is that inactive probiotics actually serve benefits to your gut and your digestive system as well. And there was this really cool research that was done that showed that inactive probiotics were actually good at helping to balance inflammation within the digestive system by setting up a great foundation for your microbiome. So you're getting some microbiome balance when you take a fermented multi. You're also getting exceptional antioxidant and enhanced nutritional value. So let's talk about antioxidants for a second, because it's kind of like this buzzword, right? It's like, oh, I drink vitamin C, or I drink orange juice for the vitamin C because it's got antioxidants in it. So let's talk about what antioxidants really do, shall we? If I cut an apple in half, okay, what's it going to do? It's going to turn brown, right? If I leave it on my counter for a few days or even for a few hours. And that's called oxidation. So antioxidants are a way to stop that apple from turning brown, okay? And what's going to happen is that we're all oxidizing. We're all aging. And we're all these apples And hopefully our period of decay is longer than a few hours. But what's happening is we are oxidizing because your body is being attacked by free radicals, okay? And free radicals are scavengers. They're out there searching for an electron. And the cool thing about antioxidants is they can quell that electron and they can stop free radicals in their tracks, which is what we need, because when we think about pollution and water contamination and even plastics and all the things that we're confronted in a day that would cause us to have free radical reactions, you know, antioxidants really quell that. So again, more antioxidants, the better. And the cool part is that when you ferment nutrients, you actually see a higher antioxidant content, which means that while it's got vitamin C, and vitamin C always has had an antioxidant content, fermented vitamin C works better. It also has immune boosting beta glucans. So here's the cool part. First, we were, setting a good foundation for our digestive system. Next, we were slowing down that aging process and protecting ourselves against pollutants and things like that with the higher antioxidant content. Now we're boosting our immune system because it's got beta glucans in it. So beta glucans are super cool. So beta glucans are present in Saccharomyces cerevisiae, which is our starting material in fermentation. And the cool part is it feeds your macrophages, and your macrophages then become like super macrophages, and your macrophages are like your first line of defense in your immune system. And when they become super macrophages, they're able to better communicate with your killer cells and your T cells, and you become like a lean, mean microbial fighting machine. And that's what you want when you're trying to boost your body's immune system. So again, you're getting that as a natural part of a multivitamin. And even better, it's gentle on the stomach. I love this because a lot of reasons that women don't take iron supplements is because it can be really harsh on the stomach. A lot of women complain about constipation and issues associated with taking iron. But the cool part is that when you ferment it, it's actually completely different after fermentation because it has been biotransformed by that starting material, and it's been engulfed and therefore changed. So the cool part is it's really easy to take on an empty stomach. If you're like me, I eat breakfast, I get about halfway through my morning, I haven't eaten anything for a few hours, and I'm like, oh, I forgot to take my multivitamin. And then I go to take it. And if I had to take one that required me to take it with food, I'd probably be like, okay, I'll wait till lunch. And then at lunch, I would probably forget to take it. And then I'd be like, oh, I think dinner's too late for me to take my multivitamin because it's got B vitamins in it that would give me some energy. So this vitamin works with you and with your schedule. And I think that's really important when we're busy. Now, here's the crazy part. We added astaxanthin to our 55 plus women's multi. And when we did that, we did a round of testing, and New Chapter really exceeds its science. And one of the things we were able to find is that our 55 plus women's multivitamin not only gave you that immune boost from beta glucans, not only gave you the higher antioxidant content, not only was gentle on the stomach and easily absorbed because of fermentation, it also stimulated Neurite outgrowth. Now, see this on the left-hand side, you're seeing these neuron cells, and basically what's happening is that the right-hand side, that green tendrily things that you're seeing between the cells, is the new tendrils of communication that are happening between the neurons. And the cool part is what this means is that it's helping your brain to communicate with itself better. And if you've ever had a day where you're just sharp, you're just on it, you feel good, well, guess what? That's exactly what this is going to help you do. It keeps your cognition, your memory sharp. And that's really an unparalleled new chapter that you've never probably seen from a multivitamin before. And this is what we would call a side benefit of taking our multivitamins, which we think is so cool. So we also add herbs to our multivitamins. Only 23% of Canadian adults take a multivitamin. That's a little higher now than when I actually found this. But herbal supplementation is much lower, and that's because people really see the need for a multivitamin. They're supplementing their diet. Maybe they know they're not eating the way that they want to, but at the same time, herbals can kind of seem like a foreign idea sometimes because you go into a store, you see all these herbals, you're not sure where to start. So we actually have herbal experts on staff We have master herbalists who are able to formulate these support blends that go right into our multivitamin. So you get all the benefits I talked about before, plus you get the herbal blends that are, associated with your life and age stage, which is fantastic. For women, we have, the stress and energy support blend, our cardio blend, our digestive blend featuring fermented aloe, which is fantastic. We have a hormone support blend. And for men, we have that prostate support blend. So awesome. So please discover our fermentation advantage when you take our multivitamins. I think you will be really pleased with how you feel when you're taking them. We have a question here on the right, so I'm going to read it. If I am going to take vegetarian iron supplements, do I have to take it with food or 2 hours after eating? Also, is it true that I cannot drink black tea at the same time because it will inhibit absorption? Excellent question. So yes, black tea has been shown to inhibit the absorption of iron. So I tend to not take it with tea, with black tea. Green tea does not have that effect. But at the same time, also coffee does not have that effect. So that's something that's very unique to black tea. So way to do your research. I'm super proud of you, Diane. But also, if you're going to take vegetarian supplements, do you have to take it with food? Because our iron is fermented, and like I said, it actually gets changed in the fermentation process. The Saccharomyces cerevisiae actually munches down onto that iron nutrient when it's fed in our original broth. And it actually, what happens is it incorporates it into its cell structure. Think of it like advanced Pac-Man, and it just munches down on those power pellets. But see, the power pellet doesn't exist any longer. It's now part of the Saccharomyces cerevisiae, fancy name for brewer's yeast. And because of that, you can pretty much take it anytime. So I hope that helps. So how much calcium is in your food? All right, so let's talk about this because calcium is a really important nutrient, and it's going to play an important role in how you age and making sure that your mobility stays the way you want it to. So when you look at a cup of spinach, it has about 30 milligrams of calcium, but what you actually get after you pay that digestive tax is 12 milligrams. And when I lecture, I ask people a lot, like, what do you think is the best food out there or the best drink out there for calcium? And the answer is almost always milk, that milk is the absolute best thing that you could be doing to get your calcium. And actually, that's not really true. Let me explain why. First of all, while milk is calcium rich in its original setting, so 1 cup of whole milk has 276 milligrams of calcium. What you actually get, if your digestion is tip-top, is 89 milligrams of calcium absorbed. But here's the rub. About 60% of us are lactose intolerant. And that means that the nutrition that you take in when you're taking in something like milk is actually compromised. So just a heads up there that you actually might not be getting the nutrition you think you are if you have some digestive discomfort around dairy. So what do you need to eat in a whole day in order to get your calcium? Well, you'd have to eat this giant head of broccoli, several servings of spinach, a giant container of yogurt, these lovely cubes of cheese, and don't forget the most calcium-rich thing on this slide, which is sardines. If you like sardines, you can have mine because I'm not a big fan, but they are a really calcium-rich food because they have these pin bones in them that people can eat, and those pin bones are really rich in calcium, but I'm not a fan. So obviously, this is not going to happen for me in a day. And if it's not going to happen for me in a day, then I'm probably not meeting my calcium requirements. So that means that it's leading a lot of women to have osteoporosis because they're not getting the calcium foundations that they need. So when you're looking at bone, you have healthy bone on the left and osteoporotic bone on the right. So the healthy bone on the left, you can see has a really nice honeycomb structure, and that's really starting to be torn down by the osteoporotic bone. So again, one of the things that we look at is at New Chapter is thoughtful formulation. People often walk in and they think that calcium is like a water-soluble nutrient, like B vitamins or C vitamins, which means that you're going to utilize what you need and the rest of it your body is going to excrete. That's not the way that calcium works. The way that calcium works is that If you're taking, like, say, a regular limestone calcium, okay, and that means it's sourced from limestone rock. It's the same thing as you just chomp it into a bit of chalk, and you take that in, it's going to cause a large calcium burst into your bloodstream. And if your body doesn't know what to do with all of it, it's going to store the excess amounts in your arteries, which is why there has been adverse effects associated with too much calcium in a day. And too much calcium usually runs between 1,200 and 1,400 milligrams per day. But where people really forget to factor in is the fact that they're already getting the 500 and 700 milligrams of calcium in their diet. So again, if 1,000 is too much and there's too little here, how can we find a nice balance? The other thing is that for people who are still blown away by the whole milk thing, there was a 12-year Harvard study done of 78,000 women. Those who drank milk 3 times a day broke more bones than women who didn't. And if you're vegan, sorry, but you actually have a 10% higher risk of bone fracture. So we want a safe, effective way to get our calcium. We want to be able to get it in a responsible dosage to avoid that calcium paradox of getting that calcium stored in our arteries where we don't need it, where we're more likely to have a heart incident. And we also want to make sure that we're getting it from a responsible and sustainable source. And that is where New Chapter steps in. We source our calcium from plants, not rocks. We source it from this great type of algae called lithothamian algae. And there's tons of algae in the world, so why would we pick this one? Well, it's got more calcium per gram than other algae calciums. It's pure. It's sourced off the coast of Iceland. It's super, and we also have a third-party sustainability on it so that we're not harming the oceans to get our red algae, which is so important. But also, it's been studied in science a lot. It's one of the most studied algae calciums in the world, and it's not only been shown to be effective for your bones, but also effective for your joints and digestive and cardiovascular systems as well. Again, side benefits of taking lithothamian algae. So experience plant source calcium with Bone Strength Take Care from New Chapter. If you take one thing away from me today is that, hey, you know what? I love you and I want you to thrive. So what does that mean? It means that sometimes, you're going to take one piece of information away from this, and that is if you're going to take a calcium product, whether it's New Chapter or whether it's anyone else, please make sure that it has K2 in it, okay? You hear about D3 a lot when you're talking about calcium because D3 helps you absorb that calcium into your bones. But what K2 is K2 is like a traffic director, and it directs the calcium to your bones where you need it. And it also directs it away from your arteries where you don't need it. There's been some really cool studies about people who take calcium. And even if they've started to take calcium and they've started to see a little bit of calcification, that sometimes K2 is able to start directing that calcium to the bones where they need it. And that's a really important thing. So again, if you're taking a calcium, the one thing I want you to remember is K2. So your whole body, really weighs on the health of your digestive system. And I know this sounds crazy because when you think about stress, when you think about feeling happy, when you think about your overall mood, you really think about, usually people think about their nervous system or brain health, things like that. But what they don't think about is their digestive system. And that's interesting to me because 90% of the serotonin that you produce in your body, and serotonin is that happy feel-good hormone, it's actually produced in your gut. And then when you think about it, there's this other part of your digestive system that's called your enteric nervous system. And these are nerves that are actually connected through your digestive system. If you've ever heard about having a nervous stomach, you realize that there's a direct line between how you feel and your digestion. So there's a crosstalk between your brain and your gut biome that goes on all the time. And it's a really good example that we forget that our bodies are parts of very complex systems that are talking to each other all the time. So don't think of your body as just, oh, I'm not feeling well today, and it must be because, I just ate ice cream last night. Maybe that's not the answer. And, but again, think of it in terms of the whole, that what you take in is going to affect every part of your body. So one of the interesting pieces of research that are associated with this is that autoimmune diseases tend to be very prevalent these days. And some of the latest research is showing that autoimmune diseases may not be passed down hereditarily through DNA, but more through a family's microbiome. Because whose microbiome do you inherit? Well, when you're in utero, you inherit your mother's microbiome. And then when you live with your parents, you take on, you eat what your parents eat. You take in the same water that your parents take. So all of those foundations are set up at the same time. So are we able to change that? And the answer is yes. So all probiotics are not created equal. Let me start right there. When people are looking for probiotics, I think it's easy to think that they're interchangeable. But the truth is that they're really not. So one of the things that you see on the back of labels quite often is these long, bacterial names. So let's just take one for here, like Bifidobacterium breve, okay? So what you're looking at here is you're looking at the species, all right? And so when you look at one Bifidobacterium breve on the back of one label, and you look at another Bifidobacterium on the back of another label, you would think they're the same, right? Not so. In fact, they only share about 97% DNA, which means there's a 3% variation that could be occurring there. On top of that, people are like, well, 3% is not that bad. I mean, 97% in a class is usually like an A, so I think we're doing pretty solid. Not in genetics, not when you're talking about biology. What you're talking about there is a pretty large variation, because when you think about the fact that humans and chimpanzees actually share 99% of their DNA, that 1% makes a pretty big difference. 3% makes a huge difference when you're talking about bacteria. So how can we know what we're getting? Well, we at New Chapter believe in delivering research strains. When you're talking about setting up a foundation for your digestive system, we want you to know what you're getting. And the only way that you can do that is to deliver strain-specific probiotics, okay? So strain-specific probiotics have these little initials after it. So you'll see it says BRO3. And what that means is that strain has clinical research behind it that's verifiable at that exact strain. So what you're getting is 100% DNA verified to be the same strain that was used in that research. And that really gives you a sense of the quality associated with it, not only because that strain has been super researched, but because it has super results as well. So these are the two that we used in our probiotic, which is called Probiotic Alflora. We use L-Plantarum LPO1 and B. breve BRO3. Now, here's what gets crazy. A lot of times people are like, well, Charlotte, the more probiotics that you have, the better off you are. This is a false idea, and let me tell you why. First of all, in bacteriology, bacteria are a little like people. They don't always get along. So if you're throwing 24 different strains into a probiotic, how do you know when they're activated that they're all going to get along and help you reach your goals of having digestive balance, which we know affects how we feel every day because of that gut-brain connection, right? We don't, because there are 24 in there and they haven't been studied all together. Maybe they've been studied one at a time, but they haven't been studied all together. We took ours because they were studied together. And these two together were able to deliver results at a count of 5 billion. So not 50 billion, not 100 billion. Please remember in herbalism and in naturals that it's not an arms race, okay? It's not bigger is always better. It's about what is the most effective dose that is going to cause you to feel a difference. And so with 5 billion, we were able to show improved digestion, balanced inflammation, and then we were also able to see some digestive parameters that, usually have people experience some discomfort, and those were lessened as well. So again, seeing these in digestive action, knowing that your microbiome is being balanced, super cool. So again, there's more to probiotics than just more probiotics. As you look at a probiotic label, it can get a little overwhelming. But one thing you notice with these is that, guess what? There is no strain-specific strain, so you don't know what you're getting. Also, when you're looking at these, sometimes what happens is they use a proprietary blend, so you don't know how much you're getting of each strain either. And so you could be getting, 200 milligrams of acidophilus and just a sprinkling of the rest. So again, knowing what you want is really important, and we try and deliver that at New Chapter, and we deliver it based on clinically studied research. So I hear this all the time. They're like, well, can't I just eat yogurt? Yogurt's super good for you. And I love Jamie Lee Curtis and all her Activia commercials. But unfortunately, they did these studies about 92 yogurts in the grocery store not actually having enough probiotic content to really start making a difference when you're talking about digestive health parameters. So again, is yogurt a healthy choice? Well, if you are getting no sugar, with live active culture yogurt, yeah, it's great food for you to eat, but the average flavored yogurt has 25 grams of sugar. And considering my favorite Snickers bar has 22 grams of sugar, I think I will be taking my Snickers bar, please, because the sugar recommendation for an entire day is 25 grams. And remember that when you're taking in that much sugar, you're probably feeding the yeast beast. Yes, if you have issues with candida, so many women do. I have been there. I understand, sister. It is uncomfortable. So when I say the word yeast, people automatically have a negative connotation. They're like, oh my gosh, yeast is the worst. But remember, there's good yeast and bad yeast. You guys remember back in like the 90s when all bacteria was bad? It was like germs, and we were like, oh, antibacterial everything. We've learned since then there's good bacteria and bad bacteria. Today, I'm here to tell you there's good yeast and bad yeast. And guess what? Candida albicans is a bad yeast. It causes thrush and yeast infections, fatigue, weight gain, all sorts of problems. And Saccharomyces boulardii is a good yeast. It's great for your body. And because what happens is it crowds out the candida and it's able to fight it, which is why we have a candida claim on our probiotic all flora, meaning it will address your candida needs. But also on top of that, it's really great because, this particular type of beneficial probiotic yeast was shown to be effective when dealing with things like even like C. diff and Helicobacter pylori infections when you were looking in research. So again, great for the digestive system and setting up a really great probiotic structure within your body. Awesome. So this is Probiotic All Flora. It is 3 essentials for growth: prebiotics from fermented aloe, probiotics which are clinically studied and DNA verified, and postbiotics, which are also provided from fermentation. And postbiotics are when you have happy probiotics all set up and colonized. They have byproduct, and that byproduct is super good for you, but usually you have to wait until the bacteria colonize in your gut to actually get that benefit. But we deliver that benefit right in the capsule through fermentation. So we're excited to give you that as well. So we give you prebiotics, probiotics, and postbiotics. It has no sugar. It's more powerful than yogurt, clinically studied, DNA verified strains, and that beneficial yeast to help you fight the candida. So it's a great product. I have a question again from Diane. Hey, Diane. Is the vitamin D3 in New Chapter products derived from marine sources or from lanolin? We are derived from lanolin. So thank you for that question. We are derived from lanolin, but stay tuned because we're always searching for new sources. So wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We got things on the move. Cramping your style. Oh my gosh. Well, having your period is a really big pain. 60% of women experience cramping as a side effect of their period. The hard part is it feels like it never ends because PMS can actually start 2 weeks prior to your period. Then you have your period for about a week, and then you get to recover for a week, and then you get to start your cycle all over again. And that's really difficult, right? Because it actually, PMS isn't fun for anyone. Those hormonal swings are awful. Food cravings, cramps, that hormonal fluctuation can be really difficult. And in fact, in Japan, South Korea, and Indonesia, they give women menstrual leave, and that's time off from work to help cope with their pain and discomfort. I think we need to start a movement, ladies, really start, rallying for that to happen here, because anyone who has an uncomfortable period knows how difficult it is to function sometimes during that time. So wouldn't it be nice if there was something that could ease this particular time? The other part is that, sometimes we feel like we're losing the bacterial battle because 50 to 60% of women will develop urinary tract infections in their lifetime. And if you've ever had a UTI, you know how painful they can be. And so when people usually come in for a urinary tract infection into the health food store, one of the first things they usually ask me for is cranberry. So cranberry juice is great because what happens is that if you already have bacteria, it will stop it from adhering to your urinary tract walls, and therefore it will give you some comfort and relief. But unfortunately, here's the thing. When you're talking about prevention of a UTI and helping your body to not get those started in the first place, cranberry juice is not actually recommended anymore. What's recommended is that you look for probiotics that can specifically colonize in the vagina so that it protects you and it sets up that good microflora so you're less likely to get a urinary tract infection. So that's what we really need. But the thing is that a lot of oral probiotics do not survive, first of all, the stomach acid, but second of all, they do not colonize in the vagina where you need them. So what happens is that, they've been studied for a really long time, and luckily they have found 2 strains that were able to flourish in the vaginal tract where you need them, and that's L-acidophilus LA14 and L-rhamnosus HN001. And because, yes, you remember, they are strain specified, so guess what that means? That the exact same strains that are delivered in this product are the exact same strains that were delivered in the research. And that's exactly what we use in our Probiotic Women's Daily Balance, which is coming out next month. I'm so excited. I got a sneak preview of this one in the US, and I just want to tell you, it is really a game changer. It is really a game changer because it also features some really great supportive herbs for women with chaste tree, which is great for when you're trying to balance the progesterone to estrogen ratio. This is going to help support your PMS symptoms like bloating, irritability, and depression. Maca, great for helping to feel energized. And lavender, again, that very calming lavender. Sometimes women during their PMS can have insomnia issues and things like that. So we put this complementary herbal blend in to support you during that particular time and to support those great probiotics to help protect your overall urinary tract as well. So we want to build the best you possible. I'm sure you guys have been hearing a lot about collagen. It's so hot right now. A lot of people are talking about it. And collagen makes up 75% of the dry weight of your skin, and it's rich in amino acids, and it's actually stronger than steel. I thought this was so cool. So the smallest building blocks of collagen are these little tendrils. They're tensile strains, okay? And when they actually get pressure on them, they are actually stronger than steel. And I thought that was so cool that what you're made up of, it's actually stronger than steel. So there's endogenous collagen, which is what you make within yourself. But unfortunately, as we get older, we start to make less and less collagen. So supplementation of collagen can be needed as we get older. And because collagen is found in many systems in the body, from your skin to your bones, to your muscles, to the corneas of your eyes, your nails, all of this is actually very important. And so collagen is really very necessary to help keeping those things function the way that you want to. So the collagen clock is unfortunately ticking. Collagen depletion can be caused by natural aging. Collagen production may actually start to decline as early as 21. And then high sugar consumption. So a high sugar diet actually encourages blood sugars to attach to proteins and form new molecules that can damage collagen. Smoking, we know smoking is no bueno, so I'm not gonna spend a lot of time there, but if you're smoking, you're harming your skin and you're gonna have effects on your collagen overall as well. Sunlight, but you know what, that's really a shame because sunlight is one thing that's really healthy. You need your vitamin D3 from the sun, but we also have to protect our skin, but it causes the breakdown of collagen faster. So what can we do to replenish the collagen within our body? So we can find collagen in several sources, but beware of the unsustainable collagen source. Cows, chickens, eggs, and marine fish all contain collagen. But marine collagen, which has been really popular and has shown to be very effective, unfortunately, is often not sustainably sourced. So fish source collagen often comes from cod, and North Sea cod stocks have been falling about 31% since 2015. So again, at New Chapter, we really try to look at the whole picture. We want to support your health, but we also don't want to put the earth in a detrimental spot to do it. So again, where can collagen be sourced? Well, first of all, there's not really a true source of vegan collagen right now, unless it's a genetically modified yeast. And so again, we're not into GMOs again at New Chapter. So we wanted to find a collagen that was, you know, a good collagen, a sustainable collagen, but at the same time that your body could utilize it. So you want to look for a hydrolyzed collagen, and hydrolysis is a pretty easy process. It converts large collagen molecules into smaller peptides that can be easily absorbed. In fact, when you take a hydrolyzed collagen, more than 90% of that collagen is digested and available as small peptides in the blood within 1 hour. If you remember one thing about New Chapter is that we're the absorption company. We help you absorb your multivitamins. We make sure that your herbals are super critically extracted so they're pure and potent and absorbable. And we also make sure that your collagen is absorbable as well. And the results are pretty clear. Women aged 35 to 55 who took 2.5 to 5 grams of collagen daily for 8 weeks showed significant improvement in skin elasticity. They had fewer visible wrinkles, less dryness. And again, we wanted to introduce a new chapter in collagen because not only did we want to introduce a collagen that was sustainable, we wanted it to be multi-source. So we use grass-fed, pasture-raised cows, cage-free chickens. A lot of times you're going to see people offer grass-fed, pasture-raised cows, but on chickens, they don't specify where their chickens are coming from. And cage-free, of course, is the right thing to do for the animal's health. So we want to always be looking out for our food sources as well because they should be treated with dignity. We've included really beautiful botanicals in these collagens as well because while we could just deliver collagen, we are an herbal company at heart and we wanted to accentuate these. So with our Collagen Glow, we actually added in sea buckthorn. Ladies, this is a water-soluble sea buckthorn, and I'm telling you, sea buckthorn, if you want to take it separately, we make an omega-7 sea buckthorn. But what I love, it's great for your hair, it's great for your skin, it's great for your nails, it's great for that glow, okay? But the other thing I love about sea buckthorn is that sometimes women can experience vaginal dryness, and sea buckthorn is fantastic for that. So again, if you're experiencing those things, you should take a look at sea buckthorn. But if you want collagen because you want your skin to glow and you want to be radiant and you want to keep a great elasticity to your skin, Collagen Glow is for you. If you are looking for collagen for more of joint purposes to keep moving, again, we have 10 grams of hydrolyzed collagen with a lithothymine calcium. So this is the same calcium that you would find in our Bone Strength Take Care, but now it is in Collagen Move. It's not flavored and it's great, super absorbable as well. We also have a non-GMO verification on that so that you know that, of course, we're not sourcing GMO. So we talked a little bit about astaxanthin earlier. I just wanted to touch on it for our hair, skin, and nails product because we added to it. Astaxanthin is this great carotenoid. It's 6,000 times more potent than vitamin C as an antioxidant, 800 times more potent than CoQ10, 75 times more potent than alpha lipoic acid. The cool part about this is that it's an algae. Think about salmon, right? Salmon have a natural astaxanthin content to them. It's what makes salmon pink or red. And think about what salmon do. They have to swim upstream to mate. So they just beat the heck out of their muscles, right? And we wonder, like, how can they survive that much oxidative stress and then get to where they're going and want to mate, right? And it's because the astaxanthin protects their muscles. But astaxanthin does a lot more than that. So astaxanthin is, we source our astaxanthin organically. And when it interacts with the sun, it actually turns red as a protection mechanism. And that protection mechanism is actually going to protect your skin as well. So astaxanthin has been clinically proven to reduce the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles with noticeable results in 6 weeks. So if you are a vegetarian, this is your alternative to collagen. It aids in combating photoaging. It's a natural protection from environmental factors like the sun, and it has that superior antioxidant potential that we talked about. So it's expertly formulated to enhance your natural beauty. It includes reishi mushroom, which is a fabulous adaptogen. Going to help your body deal with a little bit of stress. If you are dealing with stress, take a look at holy basil, ladies. Holy basil. Holy basil is fantastic. It's like a glass of wine at the end of the day, but not as much fun. But if you're watching your sugar, holy basil can be great. Also, rhodiola. Rhodiola is my go-to in times of stress. And I'm a really big believer in rhodiola. In fact, overnight doctors who used rhodiola scored higher on tests at the end of their shift than at the beginning of their shift when they were talking about cognitive function, because rhodiola keeps you sharp and it keeps you energized, and it's a great adaptogen for stress. So at New Chapter, we like to give women nutritional empowerment. We want you to be your best you. We don't want you to survive. We want you to thrive. And we believe in supporting real women's needs. We actually have this women's campaign that we came out with. And just so you know, I actually work with all three of these lovely ladies at the office when we're open. That's Pat, that's Jen, and Naomi. And we understand the needs of women because we listen to the women that we work with. And again, we formulate for our friends and families. So thank you so much for joining me today. I'm super excited if you have any questions now to open it up to questions.
Thanks, Charlotte. That was fantastic.
Awesome.
I have a question about the probiotic.
Yeah.
If you were to want to make your own dairy-free yogurt with it at home using like a coconut milk, have you tried that type of recipe? Is it good for something like that? If you actually like crack the capsule into it and use it?
I have never actually done that. I'm going to be like Bill Nye the Science Guy in my kitchen and try that out.
Okay. You'll have to let me know.
I can't wait. I'm going to go figure that out. Yeah, that sounds awesome. No, honestly.
It's a fun recipe to try. There was a question at the beginning that was asked about recommending supplements for sleep. And they said they've tried every herbal supplement under the sun.
Okay. So one of the things that I want to talk about is that sleep is often disrupted because you're under large amounts of stress. And here's the thing. Ashwagandha is great for stress. But what I would say is that you have to set up for your sleep routine all day. So when you are, when you're setting, she has to go to the previous slide. This slide, is this the slide you mean, or, okay. So when you're talking about setting up for your sleep routine all day, be careful because you really want to be setting yourself up for success. And the things that can disrupt your sleep, caffeine, unfortunately, one of those things if you're caffeine sensitive. 2 is if you're looking at natural supplements, you have to find your right herb. And sometimes people are lemon balm people. Sometimes people are holy basil people. Sometimes people can take valerian. Tart cherry has also been very effective for sleep. So you kind of have to find what works with your particular body chemistry. And that can get really frustrating sometimes because you can feel like you've tried everything under the sun. And that can be really difficult. But also remember that you're setting up your stress during the day, because what happens is that your brain just can't turn off at night. And that happens because you've been experiencing these large amounts of stress during the day. And now you're trying to go to bed and you're telling your body, I don't need this stress anymore, but you're in a constant state of stress. So sometimes people taking something like rhodiola during the day in the morning helps their body to adapt during the day. So by the time it's time to go to bed, they've adapted during the day. So again, try and think about not just your nighttime routine, but your entire herbal routine throughout the day.
Awesome. That was great insight there. Another question that came up was, should the probiotics be taken on an empty stomach or with food? I hear conflicting information about this.
Yeah. So again, when you take with food, one of the things you risk with probiotics is the stomach acid actually degrading the probiotics and the probiotics not reaching where you need it to. So that's not a problem with New Chapter because we micro-encapsulate our probiotics, which means they're surrounded by a glycerol fatty acid, and that protects them through the digestive system. And they've been tested and shown to colonize where you need them to. So the cool part is that ours can actually be taken with food or on an empty stomach, and they usually do show efficacious on either one. But if you really like to make sure, if you're just double checking yourself, the science that shows that stomach acid makes it more susceptible to not reaching where it's supposed to go means that on an empty stomach can be sometimes best.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Charlotte. Thank you, New Chapter. Thank you to our audience for spending your evening with us. We will be sending out a recording replay of the presentation, as well as the coupon from New Chapter to thank you for your participation. So have a wonderful evening, everyone.
Thank you.
And thank you, Charlotte. Good night.